All right, welcome. This is DB Talking now. DB Talking Birds, DB Talking Philadelphia Eagles. I am Dylan Brown. I am your host. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. So we have a lot to get into going into this offseason. I mean, obviously there's the whole Carson Wentz dilemma, the whole Jalen Hurts dilemma, and the whole dilemma of the fact that Doug Peterson mysteriously benched Jalen Hurts at the start of the fourth quarter of this past week's game against the Washington football team. Now, why would he do that? He did it right after Jalen Hurts threw an incomplete pass to a wide open Quez Watkins in the end zone on 4th and goal. Now, here's my take, and this is what we're going to get into. This is how we're going to start this. What if the Eagles, and I'm not saying that this is true. I'm not saying this is true. This is purely hypothetical. But what if they don't want either Jalen Hurts or Carson Wentz? What if they don't see either one as a long-term option going forward? Now, I mean, let's break it down because let's put emotions aside for a second and break it down and see what we got. Now, one, you could validate that by pointing to Carson's age. Carson is already 28. He's had two significant injuries, has yet to win a playoff game, and for the presumed franchise quarterback to have not won a playoff game yet and to only have started in one playoff game during his first 5 years in the NFL, that's going to give you some cause to pause, I would think. Now, let's look at Jalen Hurts. Now, there's plenty of belief that there are people in the organization who didn't want to go with Jalen Hurts. One of those coaches is already out the door, and that is Jim Schwartz. Did want Jalen Hurts. I think that's already well documented. We already know that. Wanted safety Jeremy Chin or possibly linebacker Kenneth Murray at that spot, or any other defensive chess piece to be added in the second round with that second round pick that we took Jalen Hurts with. Now, as we already know, Doug probably has a lot of faith in Carson. I think that that's true when he says that. The reports about him having faith in Carson, I believe that one report is true. I believe that is true. I believe that Doug does still have faith in Carson, and Doug prefers Carson to be the quarterback in Philadelphia, the starting quarterback. And if that's the case, then that would lead us to the head coach not wanting Jalen Hurts as the starter and would rather go with Carson Wentz. And in that scenario, you've got a lot of division. You've got some division there. Let's say Howie Roseman wants Jalen Hurts, despite of what he said yesterday, because he did come out and say yesterday that he does still fully support Carson, and that he looks at Carson as one of his fingers, and he couldn't imagine getting rid of a guy like that. Yeah, that's just sound bites. But what if they don't? What if they don't see either one of them moving forward? I mean, look, we're at pick number 6. We got pick number 6, and before I get jumped on for this, I'm going to throw this hypothetical scenario out there. What if they're interested in possibly trying to move up for Trevor Lawrence? Now, let's be honest, and I believe this to be true. Trevor Lawrence probably isn't going to get past the Jaguars, unless maybe the Jaguars would be interested in Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts. What would it take to move up to that spot? The Eagles have ammunition. If they wanted to, and if the Jags were open to it, the Eagles could probably get there. Would I be against drafting Trevor Lawrence? No, I definitely would not be against drafting Trevor Lawrence. I've seen plenty of Trevor Lawrence's tape. I've watched plenty of Clemson games from the comfort of my home. and I absolutely love what Trevor Lawrence brings to the table, and I think that he's going to have a special career in the NFL, and I think that his college to the NFL transition is going to be probably as smooth as it can get for a rookie quarterback. Obviously, with some bumps in the road, some growing pains here and there, but that's to be expected. That's to be expected. You know what I see when I see Trevor Lawrence? I do see an Andrew Luck. I do see a quarterback like that, and that's the pro comparison that he's getting right now. But you know what? Carson Wentz got the same comparison. Carson Wentz got the same pro comparison. You know what I see when I see Trevor Lawrence? I see Carson Wentz when Carson Wentz is playing at the top of his game. That's what I see. But I also see a quarterback who can run the RPOs really well. I also see a quarterback who is quick to react. I see a quarterback who hits his read, who makes accurate throws, who can throw the deep ball, who reads a defense really, really well, is quick enough to be able to run the RPO and the read option. And I think at 6'6", 215 pounds, I would be shocked if the Eagles brass were not entertaining the idea. And of course, anytime that you find yourself in that position, with a high draft pick like the Eagles have going into this offseason, of course it's your due diligence. They're doing their due diligence by thinking about it. So I'm sure that they are thinking about it, just as any other team in the top 10 are thinking about it. You never know what could happen. Trevor Lawrence could get himself injured at his pro day, like we've seen so many other times before. But there's a few other players I want to point out, but we'll get to that at some point. But let's go in this route. Let's say they do keep Carson Wentz. I believe that that the big let me readdress this. The big question is this: how do you solve, if there's any wrenches in the relationship of Carson Wentz and the Eagles coaching staff? How do you solve it? Well, this is how you solve it. You bring Carson Wentz back as the starter, and you flip Jalen Hurts as soon as you get the opportunity. You trade Jalen Hurts as soon as you get the opportunity. That's how you solve it. And no, that's not Carson Wentz being a baby. That's not Carson Wentz. That's not indicative of somebody who is unwilling to compete for their job. Because I believe at the end of the day, Carson Wentz is willing to compete for his job. I think a lot of the reports that are being said about Carson Wentz right now, it's a lot of smoke and mirrors. And it's just to stir up drama. And I that's how I see Chris Mortensen from ESPN's previous report from a few days ago about Carson Wentz wanting out of Philadelphia, wanting to request a trade. In my opinion, I believe that it's sometimes it's just journalists wanting to say the big headline first. And so when it actually comes to fruition, they'll get to point to it and say, "Oh, well, I said it first." Well, unfortunately, Chris Mortensen, Adam Schefter said it first, and he rebutted his report because it got taken way out of context. We haven't heard anything come from Carson. We haven't heard anything come from Carson Wentz's agent. We haven't heard any of that. So until I hear it come from Carson, I'm not going to say it's true. Now, look, what do you expect? You expect him not to be frustrated with the Eagles front office? Of course, he's probably a little frustrated. He is He is a human being at the end of the day. Of course, he's going to be a little frustrated. But that doesn't mean he can't be a good teammate. Just because he's a good teammate doesn't mean he can't be frustrated. It's human nature to respond and be frustrated in the situation that Carson Wentz has been put in. Now, yes, all parties have contributed to the situation that Carson Wentz has found himself in, but he is allowed to be frustrated. He's allowed to be frustrated by it. And you know what I say? You know what I say at the end of the day? I say, bring Carson back as the starter. Bring Carson back as a starter. Find a way to fix the offensive line. Find a way to get him the pieces that he needs. Because let's be honest with you, a Jalen Reagor was not the right piece. Jalen Reagor in the first round was not the right piece for Carson Wentz. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. It just wasn't. Justin Jefferson was. And to back that up, Carson's had Alshon Jeffrey his entire career, except for 1 year, his rookie year, where he had Dorial Green-Beckham. Both receivers are tall, physical. We didn't have that guy this year. They tried earlier in the season by starting J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, but it just didn't pan out. That's the other thing, too. I mean, what are they doing? Do you guys remember that? How they started off the season with Deshaun Jackson, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and Greg Ward. Does anybody remember that? How that was supposed to be the starting lineup? And then, Jalen Reagor would come in certain packages. We need this team. One, it needs to somehow find a way to improve their ability in scouting players. But it's not even just that. It's knowing who are the better players on the team at the current time so that you can identify who the best 11 should be. And they have not been able to do that. Travis Fulgham shouldn't have been removed from the starting lineup. It just shouldn't have happened. That just should not have happened. It was Carson Wentz's top target. Travis Fulgham led all wide receivers in pretty much every statistical category through his first 4 weeks of starting. And then was mysteriously pulled for Alshon Jeffrey. Who hadn't done anything in a year and a half and continues to really do nothing. Let's talk about this Week 17 matchup, though. Let's jump to that real quick. There's been a lot of reports that have come out about the response to, the reaction to, the overall feeling of Doug Peterson pulling Jalen Hurts. Miles Sanders came out and spoke about it and said that everybody was upset about it and that they were all confused. And that's a problem. And I spoke about that in my last post, my last stream. But then a couple days later, you have Jason Kelce saying that nobody was really upset, nobody was confrontational, and then that was in response to another media report, another report that came out, which was that defensive players and some other players needed to be held back from confronting Doug Peterson on the sideline after he pulled Jalen Hurts. And Jason Kelce came out and said that there was no confrontation. And you know what? In this situation, I believe Jason Kelsey. If there's any ego at the end of the day that I'm going to believe, hands down, it's going to be Jason Kelsey. And Jason Kelsey came out and said, Nate's been here for a while. We wouldn't have put him in that position if we didn't believe that he could win. Now, maybe that's a little bit of him saying the right thing. And yeah, it probably is. But it doesn't matter. You want to know why it doesn't matter? Because you guys were 4-9-1 going into that game. And you were eliminated from the playoffs. Why is everybody upset about this? Why? Why? Because he didn't tell his players about it? Well, we don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know that. We are not there. We weren't in the locker room. We weren't in the Zoom meetings or the virtual meetings. We weren't there. We weren't a part of it. And neither was the media. Neither was the media. So we don't know. You know who I do believe has the right to be upset is Carson Wentz. Let's just bring that back around. Carson Wentz has the right to be upset because he was a healthy scratch from the game. That's who I believe has the right to be upset. And I'm sure he was. There's reports that he was frustrated about it, and he has a right to be frustrated about it. So there are people jumping on him for wanting to be frustrated or for wanting to cry. Like Marcus Spears, I feel like my ears bleed every time I listen to Marcus Spears. He has a right to be upset. He has a right to be upset. This was his team, and it was taken out from under him. He has a right to be upset. The last 2 weeks of this season, Jalen Hurts did not play well enough to win. He didn't. I'm sorry. But when you fumble twice in the red zone against the Arizona Cardinals or against the Dallas Cowboys, when you turn the ball over twice in the red zone against them, and then you go 7 for 20 for about 76 yards passing against the Washington Redskins in 3 quarters of football, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. That's horrible. And an interception. Let me throw that on there. And an interception. The statistic is this. The statistic is Jalen Hurts threw more uncatchable passes, more incomplete uncatchable passes than Carson Wentz did. Jalen Hurts looked better because he was more mobile. Like, it's that simple. It's really that simple. He was able to get away and was able to make the on the run throws that we wanted to see from Carson Wentz. But Carson Wentz was not as mobile this year. Speaking about Carson Wentz's mobility, there's this huge thing about, and I'm going to address this real quick just because we have to move on from this at some point. Whenever they bring up the graphic about Carson Wentz, being the worst in turnovers at the quarterback position in this league, he had 15 interceptions and 4 fumbles lost. Okay. Yes, it's not good. He had 16 passing touchdowns. And then they say, to go along with that graphic, touchdown to interception ratio. Well, let's not forget Carson Wentz had 5 rushing touchdowns. Let's not forget that. He had 5 rushing touchdowns. So technically, if you're talking about touchdowns to interceptions ratio, and I feel like that should be accounted for because those rushing touchdowns came on passing plays, except for maybe one. And that one came against San Francisco, which was a read. It was actually a read option. It was a read option play. So it was kind of a passing play. They came on passing plays. So you're dropping back to pass and you run it in. I mean, we should account for all touchdowns because those touchdowns came in the red zone, right? Those touchdowns came in the red zone. So technically it's 21 touchdowns to 15 interceptions. But that's all I'll address it. Carson had a bad season, and I'm not defending him, and I'm not saying that I'm not denying that. So Carson had a bad season, plain and simple. They have to first and foremost, the Eagles have to find a guy, and they have to commit to him. That's how this whole thing can be solved. They have to come out and commit to someone. They have to come out and commit to someone. They have not done that. They have not done that. And they need to do that. They need to do that. They need to say Carson Wentz is the starter. Carson Wentz is our franchise quarterback. He will be our quarterback moving forward. But they haven't done that. And there's a reason why they haven't done that. What if they don't like either quarterback? And what if they want to try and move up for Trevor Lawrence? It's not crazy to throw the idea out there. I mean, we're just bull jiving. That's all we're doing. That's all we're doing. Sake of conversation, which is what we'll need to do as we move along here. Because the offseason for most teams is just starting. So And I thought about it, and it might be an interesting thing. It might be an interesting thing. If they could pull it off, I wouldn't mind it, honestly. I wouldn't mind it. Everything I've seen from Trevor Lawrence, I absolutely love. Absolutely love. Jamar Chase is growing on me. Wide receiver Jamar Chase from LSU is growing on me. I don't think that we need to take a wide receiver in the first round. I think we need to find a way to shore up the secondary, shore up the defense. And I would even say, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't have to be middle linebacker. It doesn't have to be linebacker Micah Parsons. Did you know that both linebackers from Penn State would be good picks. Maybe not both of them at 6, but Jason Owahe, I think his name is, outside linebacker for Penn State as well. He would be a great pick as well. Maybe in the later rounds. I'm hoping that he falls to the second round, but might be unlikely. With that, it might be a little bit of a reach, but we never know what's going to happen. We just don't know what's going to happen. I think obviously Zach Ertz is going to be in line for some trade talks, and obviously this Carson Wentz and Jalen Hurts dilemma is going to be in line for some trade talk as well. I don't see, and again, with the Carson Wentz dilemma, we have to remember to always go back to this one important piece, because this is the most important piece of that whole conversation. And that whole conversation is this: if they trade him, it's going to be a lot of money in dead cap. It's going to be a lot of money in dead cap. Now, of course, there's reports upon reports upon reports upon reports. And of course, there was a report for that too. There was a report saying, oh, Carson would probably help facilitate a trade. No, he wouldn't. Why would he do that? Because he wants out of Philadelphia? There's also a report saying that he doesn't want it to end in a divorce, his time here in Philadelphia. He doesn't want it to end in a divorce. So it's all smoke and mirrors. And until Carson publicly addresses it, I'm not going to believe a single thing. I'm going to take everything with a grain of salt. I'm going to take everything with a grain of salt. So when Chris Mortensen from ESPN comes out and says something, you know, and I know that there was an Adam Schefter report earlier in the day, 4 hours ago or 5 hours ago or earlier this morning or wherever it was, whenever it was, but it was today, that pretty much just guarantees that Carson Wentz is going to request a trade. We don't know that. We don't know that. We don't know that. You know, we thought the writing was on the wall with Derek Carr in Oakland, and it wasn't. And it wasn't. It wasn't. Derek Carr never got traded. So we'll just have to see what happens. I don't trust Howie Roseman one bit, and I don't think any of the players do. No former Philadelphia Eagle, any of the ones who have been willing to talk don't trust Howie Roseman. And obviously the more notable one is Orlando Scandrick, but Orlando Scandrick is annoying. So there's a lot that needs to be done. There's a lot of things that we need to address. But main importantly, you got to decide who you want as your quarterback going forward. Because if you can get Carson Wentz back to playing like he was when you gave him that contract extension, or back in 2017, Jalen Hurts is a no thought. Jalen Hurts is a no thought. He really is. He really is. Because Carson Wentz can be just as exciting, if not more exciting. He's got a better arm. Carson Wentz would have completed that pass in the end zone to Quez Watkins. That would have happened. And honestly, Quez Watkins should have been playing for Carson Wentz. That should have happened. Because Quez Watkins looks good. He looks like he runs routes well enough to get open, to get separation, and he's fast. He's a burner. You know, so I'm excited about him, and I'm excited about John Hightower. My verdict is still out on Jalen Reagor. But I think they all have potential to be solid contributors. But I think right now, Quez Watkins is showing the most potential. So we'll have a lot more to talk about. I will be back with you by the end of the night. This is DB Talkin now, DB Talkin Birds, DB Talkin Philadelphia Eagles, and I will be with you throughout the week. We have plenty of talk to talk about. There are plenty of updates to go around, and this is going to be a crazy ride. So buckle your seatbelts, ladies and gentlemen, because this is going to be a crazy next few months. All right, go Birds, baby.